Hello YouTube, welcome to another Platanoz tutorials. I'm Platanoz, and today I figured, in honor of Mass Effect Andromeda coming out, I figured we'd do like a little mock-up main menu of a video game, and I name it Star Troopers. And as you can see here, you have the planet slightly rotating, and that's what we're gonna work on today. It has a bunch of a bunch of compositions and effects in there, so hopefully there's something for you to learn in this tutorial. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, new composition here, main comp, boom, and we're gonna start from scratch. And let's start with the easiest thing, which is the background that I made. So I think it's gonna be a lot of recalling, of what I did. So let's call this background, and let's generate a gradient ramp. All right, and let's color one end, kind of like this kind of color right here. All right, and the other one we'll color it bluish. Maybe there we go, something like that. Alright, and then we can switch the thing around. You know what? Switch it up to something like that. And we can make it darker. Way darker. There we go. Alright, something like that. And we can also go to noise and grain and fractal noise, and we can switch that up to overlay, right? Bring down the opacity a little bit, and we can play around with the settings, and make it look closer to what I had. So we can increase the width, make it slightly bring the height down, and we can also mess with the rotation and just mess around with the settings just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Alright, something like that, and instead of basic, let's make it something else, mirry, swirly. Yeah, that doesn't quite work. Yeah. I'm not happy with any of those. What did I use? You know what? Let's leave it at that. It's mirry, and less contrast, less brightness too. And let's bring down the opacity as well. That's way too bright. Alright. And you know what else we can do? We can make the illusion of the stars. Well, that is way darker. Way darker than what I got. But we can fix that. Easy peasy. But anyway, let's make the stars here. And we can go to CC Snowfall, to the effects panel here. Type in CC Snowfall. Drag it over. Alright, and we can increase the opacity all the way. And we're gonna be left with something like that, right? Can increase the size and bring this peak down all the way down. Alright. So that way it doesn't fall or anything. They just stay there, static. And you know what? I think right now it's very faint. So I think if we make a new layer, right? There we go, new layer, and we copy the same effect, right, onto this new layer, and we click off composite with original, right? We're gonna be left with something like this. And let's change you know what? Change this to like add. There we go. So now it's a little bit more visible, you know. So we can, mess around with it a little bit, mess around with the size, variation, and there we go. Now we got something that looks like stars. All right. I'm still not happy with how bright it looks. You know, again, this tutorial is gonna be a little bit on the long side because it's a lot of effects and a lot of guesstimating to get this exact same thing that I made. So bear with me, guys. All right, so let's try to get this a little bit darker than what we have right now. You know what? Cool. And where is the contrast? There we go. There we go. Alright. So that's darker. And now for the juicier part, or harder part I guess, is the planet. Alright. So let's make this planet real quick. Let's drag this Earth image here, right? And pre-comp it, call it planet. And I know I grabbed an image of the Earth, but ideally we don't want it to look like the Earth. We want it to look like some foreign planet, you know, some like fiery lava planet or something like that, you know. Hopefully with this example I made it look nothing like Earth, even though it is an image of Earth. I kind of warped it and did some crazy stuff to it, and hopefully it looks like a foreign planet or some cool planet that you could explore. But anyway, let's go back here to this pre-comp of the planet, right? And you know what? Let's start with something simple, as vertical transform, right? And that on its own is gonna change things around. But we could also type up change to color in the effects panel, drag it over, and then we can select the blue and let's make it red. So instead of water, it has some sort of like lava or rocky texture, you know, it gives that illusion. And we can change it, I think. That's too much. Too much. So if we go over here and change hue and saturation, we get something like this, right? And we can actually duplicate this effect with Control D or Command D if you're working on a Mac, and select the green and change it to yellow. All right, so it's gonna give us the illusion that there really is no water in this planet. It's all, it would be impossible for humans to exist in this planet. All right, so let's change it to maybe, there we go, something like this. And we can increase the softness too, Alright, increase the saturation as well. There we go. Alright, and now for another effect. Like I said, this tutorial is going to be a lot of effects put together. So CC sphere, drag it over, and now we have something that looks like a planet. Alright, and we can increase the scale, something like that. And actually let's pre-comp this planet composition. I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, but you know what, let's slow it down a little bit. Okay, we have, if we bring it all the way to the beginning, we have this background layer, we have the stars layer, and actually let me name them stars. And then we have this planet composition, right? If we open that up, we have this image of Earth. So now let's pre-comp this planet layer with Control Shift C. That's a shortcut for making a pre-composition, and let's name it main planet. All right. So this is going to be the final planet composition. And what we want is we open up this thing right here. Let's see. Oh, okay, that's what it is. Alright, so what we want is we can uh, press Command X to cut the effect, right? And open up the planet composition and paste it. And now we have the planet inside um, our own comp, basically. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we can, you know, make our sorts of interesting um, copies of the layer and get some interesting effects. And you'll see what I mean. So we can duplicate this, call it highlight, right? And we can change the shading, okay? So we can make it more specular, more reflective as well. Something like that. Alright, and then, huh, that's weird. Alright, so let's see here. We're gonna make this the highlight. And we can change it to add, and that's okay. And let's make a shape layer, right? Okay, something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's call this matte. Alright, and let's change our highlight layer to alpha matte. And alpha matte invert. Sorry. And then if we change the scale, you know, to something like that, it's gonna give us the illusion of rim light, okay? And I know it looks crappy now, but trust me, by the end of this tutorial, it's gonna look hopefully something closer to this, alright? So far we have this right here, alright? And you know what, we can actually go to the matte, right? Right click and bring up the blur, and you know, let's soften that highlight up just a little bit, you know. Alright, what else can we do? What else can we do? We can make another shape layer. Alright, something like this. This one's gonna be white. And we can bring down the opacity almost to like 5, something like that, you know. And let's call this also highlight. Okay, don't worry about this excess here because we're gonna fix that in a little bit. Alright, and we can also copy this blur effect and paste it over here, so that way it softens it up. Alright, we can increase that blurriness. Alright, now we have something like this. And you know what, let's bring on the images here, you know, the images resources I have here, we have this smoke layer, and we can bring that up as well. Okay, it's gonna be a little big. We can you know, scale it down, and actually we're gonna pre-compose it as well. So Ctrl-Shift-C to pre-compose it and call it smoke. Okay, and you can change the color just so you don't get lost in all these layers. Alright, so let's open up the smoke composition and change stuff around just a little bit, you know, keep things interesting. Alright, let's duplicate that, and we're gonna flip it. Alright, and you know, just rotate it around, make it a little bit more interesting, and we're gonna do a color key. Okay, color key in the effects panel, and we can drag it over. I mean, hopefully you know some of these effects, and at the same time I hope some of these effects are new to you and you're learning something. You know, you're learning how to use all of these new effects, but you know. Alright, so we have something like this. feather it out. And now we're left with this smoky layer, right? Something like that. And we can increase the scale, right? And change it to something like add or something like that. And though I know it looks like crap right now, but you know what? Let's start fixing all that. All right, by duplicating this planet layer. Again, Control D or Command D, and we can change it to stencil alpha. All right, and what that does is everything that's outside of um, the layer, or the planet layer, gets cut off. It's essentially a mask, but in a wider uh, sense, I guess. So if you take the visibility off, you see everything else comes back. But if you turn it on, boom, now we just have the planet. Alright, so let's make this smoke not white. Alright, so let's go to color correction, bring up our curves here, and we can change it to something like a reddish. Okay, again, you do that by selecting this right here and bring up the red. Okay, and then we can also bring the green and bring it down, so that way we're sure that there's no green in there, no blue, and we're left with something like this. I think that looks pretty interesting. Alright, we can play with it a little bit. Again, a lot of this is just playing around with layers and effects. Alright, and we can bring down the opacity, something like that. Alright, what else do we got? We got... Oh, you know what? Where is my highlight? I guess it went away after the stencil. Yep. You know what? Maybe we can bring it up and bring up the mat as well. Nah, that doesn't make sense. Oh, there we go. I guess he was just freaking out. Wow. Sometimes After Effects just blows my mind, man. Sometimes it just freaks out a little bit and... Alright, so maybe... There we go. Maybe we can put the smoke down here, make it less prominent. Alright. And let's start fixing the planet, Let's start fixing that, maybe with a little bit of a curve. Alright, so let's bring up the red, punch up that red, and punch up the green a little bit to mix it up and make a little bit of a yellowish thing. Alright, and let's bring down the blue. Alright, so you see, the more we bring down the blue, the yellower it becomes. So that makes it look a bit more interesting. And another thing we can do is we can select the rotation on the sphere and find something that looks interesting. Find an area of the planet that makes it look less like Earth, if that makes sense. Something like this. We don't usually look at this angle of Earth, something like that you won't really recognize immediately, So there we go, we got that. And we can also bring up the curve and just play around with it. Again, I'm leaving some of these decisions to you guys, whatever looks cool, whatever feels good. Of course, you can follow along with the video, but towards the end, you can make your own choices, according to what you think is going to look cool. So let's go over here to the main composition and create the glow. Alright, something like that. Alright, and that's starting to look a little bit more like what we have here, okay? Just a little bit. Alright, and we can also, again, you know, bring up the curves and punch up that red. Really bring it home that this planet is not Earth, you know? So, let's really bring that point home, that this is not Earth. This is not safe for humans. Like, if a human was here, he would have to have, you know, massive protection. Like in Mass Effect, you know, you'd have to have all these gear and helmets and shit. Alright, so now we have this cool looking planet here. And I think we can add a couple more stuff here to make it look more interesting. Alright, we can add a few shape here, a few shapes. Alright, and we're gonna bring them down into the alpha stencil, of course, so they're within the planet limit. Alright, and we can make a couple more. I don't know, it looks like crap, but you know, that's the beginning of everything. Alright, so once again we can bring the opacity down, alright, to maybe like 10. Alright, and we can also look up the blur, the directional blur, you know, something like this, and bring up the blur. Alright, and we can, you know what, let's increase the opacity here. Alright, so with the pen tool, you know, with G on your keyboard, that'll bring up the pen tool. We can switch some of this parameters around, or some of these vertices around, and we can look up twirl on our effects panel. Okay, bring up twirl, and we can, you know, twirl them around. Alright, and you know, just switching stuff around, making it look slightly more interesting, adding a little bit of noise in there. Alright, you know, now we have a cool looking planet. And let's see, what else can we do here? You know, we can bring it to the side a little bit, because you know, with this one, actually it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, we can bring it to the side a little bit. And I'm still not happy with how, again, it's not gonna be exactly the same, you know, but this one looks way redder, you know, it has more of a red quality to it than this one. So let's try to fix that. You know, really make it red. You know, something like that. Alright, and you know what else we can do? We can, at least here, we can rotate it, right? There we go. I'm still not happy that the highlight kind of gets drowned out with everything else. I don't know if it's just me, but can you see that rim light? You can barely see it, right? So maybe we need to fix some stuff here and make it look more prominent. I'm not happy that it's getting drowned out. A lot of this stuff is, you know, trial and error, you know what I mean? And whatever looks good. So let's just double check. Alright, that's not too bad. We can also start making the other stuff. So let's call these beam or whatever. Actually, you know what? My mistake. we can make a new adjustment layer, right? And we can go down to generate and then CC light sweep, alright? That's what we want. It's gonna look something like that. And then we can change the direction to 90. That's gonna you know, bring it down to more of what we want, right? Sweep intensity, we're gonna bring that up. Yeah, then we're gonna lower the width, right? And let's see, what else can we do here? Edge thickness, I'm not interested in that. Alright, that's pretty good. And then we can manually create the little highlight that you see. Alright. Let's bring the blur. Let's give it a little bit of blur. Alright. And we can change it to add. Alright. So now we have the illusion there is like this highlight or this gleam to the planet. And all I made was a shape layer, you see, with the pen tool. Alright. So now we have that. What else do we need here? Man, you see how cool this rim light is here? I'm not happy that I wasn't able to get the same rim light here. Not happy about that. But, you know, I'll fix it. We can fix it. Like Bob the Builder, right? Alright, so let's call this beam or something. And we can actually select our adjustment layer, right? Bring up the lens flare, because this is the new Star Trek movies with all the lens flare, right? And we can bring that down a little bit. You know, make it look something like that. And let's see here in our example. What else did I have? I feel like I'm forgetting a couple stuff. Oh, you know what else we can do? We can make a mask, circular mask around this thing right here, and then we can feather it. Alright, so now that's gonna give the illusion that, hey, you know, this glint doesn't go forever, you know, until eternity. You know, it has an end, and it looks a little bit like this one. Alright, and actually I can fix it around. We can move the mask around to get it, you know, a little bit more like what we have over there. And we can, you know, move this vertex here. Alright, kind of get that effect. Here you go, something like that. Maybe, you know what, maybe we can just bring them all the way up in the layers. Sorry about that. You know what it is we didn't change the shading here in this one, you know, and that's why the highlight doesn't really, you know, we can't really see it that much. So maybe if we punch down everything else, that rim light would really pop, you know. Let's get rid of some of these highlights that I made with the shape layer, because they're kind of in the way, you know, in the way of that rim light, and I do not like that. So let's make it a little bit less prominent, right? And hopefully that rim light, you know, will be more prominent. There you go. So if we go around and try to make that just a little bit of a rim light effect. There we go, that's a little bit more prominent, right? But now the earth or the terrain area of the planet is getting a little bit drawn out, you know, into that smoke effect and everything else. So maybe if we just, you know, duplicate this thing, change it to add, you know, we get a little bit more of that earth, a little bit more of that terrain. All right, there we go. I think I'm happier with this. But god damn it, look at the difference between this and this, you know? That rim light, I don't know how, what the hell did I do to get that rim light so perfect? Let's see, where is that rim light? Here it is. Let's see what I did here. Ambient 5, reflective 100. Okay, so it was a reflective parameter that I did here. Alright, so let's fix that. Let's go to the highlight and let's go to reflective. Where is reflective? There we go. Let's punch that up all the way. Bring metal down. I think that's gonna help it. Helped it a little bit, but not enough. Let's see. What else can I do here to make that rim light really pop, you know? Let's bring down the smoke effect to like 40, you know? There we go. Now it's starting to pop off a little more. You see that? All right. You know what? I'm gonna call it a day on that. You know, I'm pretty happy with that rim light now. And again, we can, you know, punch up that red a little bit. You know, play around with it until you're happy with what you have. Nope, that's too much. You know, something like that. All right, and we can also, I don't know if you noticed in the example, but there's a little bit of a rotation going on. Like the planet is rotating a little bit. I don't know if you can see it. It's very mild. So we can actually add that here to our new screen menu. And I did that because I don't know, in some games, you know, as the main menu keeps progressing, things move a little bit, you know, like it's not a static picture, you know, there's a little bit of movement to it. So what I did to create that effect here, it's just basically I keyed the lens flare, and you know, let's just make it 10 seconds long. All right, and basically we're just gonna move that lens flare a little bit to create that, hey, you know, things are moving, blah blah blah, you know. And to create that rotation, all we have to do is go to the main planet here, and you know, click on all the planets and key this rotation, this Y rotation. All right, so go through all the planets and key the Y rotation. This is part of why I love tutorials. You know, if you said that sentence in any other context, you would sound crazy. You know, go to every planet and hit the Y rotation. If you said that in any other context, you would think I'm crazy. You know, this guy is crazy. But you know, since this is a tutorial, it just makes sense. But I love this part of the tutorials. Saying crazy sentences like that. But anyway, if you know what, hold on, not all of them deserve movement. It's just this one, and we have to be exact about this. So 51, 51. That highlight needs to move as well. I don't know why it looks so different, but alright, let's see what else. We don't need this one to move. That's my mistake. This one can stay the same. Now the highlight. What the hell is it with this highlight? Oh, it's a reflection. because we brought the reflection all the way up to make it pop, but it's still pretty different. Up, of course, Jesus. Alright, so we can just, copy this effect. Is the rotation, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was the rotation. Because remember, in the original planet I moved it around a little bit, and the highlight was already duplicated, so he didn't get any of that rotation. But anyway, now we can go back to shading, and maybe add a little bit more of that rotation, less metal, more diffuse, more ambient, and that's gonna give it that highlight back. But the only difference is that now we have that rotation. Okay, so let's key that Y rotation and bring it all the way to the end to 51, and there we go. Now it matches the other ones. Alright, so now we have a cool little rotation here, and as we go to our main composition, we have the planet rotating, the lens flare adjusting to that. Alright, it takes a little bit to buffer it. I'll buffer it at the end so we can see the full effect. But yeah, we have cool little thing going on, nothing too complicated. And let's add the text, and that's gonna make it look more official, right? Let's call these Space Rangers or whatever, something vaguely sci-fi sounded. Space Rangers. Oh, talking about Rangers, did you guys see that the Power Rangers movie? Oh my god, it was really good, dude. Of course, I'm not gonna spoil anything if you haven't seen it, but if you grew up like with Power Rangers like I did, if you're a 90s kid like me and you grew up watching Power Rangers, this movie will not disappoint you, man. It was pretty good. Alright, so let's type new game, and like the basic of a video game. New game, continue, or load game rather. Load game, and then options or settings or whatever. But now it looks more like the main menu of a video game. Again, man, that first one looks way better. Why is it when you try to duplicate whatever you did, it's quite never the same, It's the same idea, but it doesn't look the same. I like this one better. But anyway, hopefully, I think we made it to the end, guys, 38 minutes, not too bad. I knew it was gonna be on the longer side, this tutorial, because we have a bunch of layers, a couple more effects than what I usually use, but hopefully you learn a little bit. Hopefully yours looks something like this, I don't know, or let's see. I mean, it's all optional, you can keep working on it, make it look a little bit more legit, closer to this one. But there we go. We got something, right? We got something. And we have the little rotation going on and the lens flare moving. And again, that's going to create the illusion to the player that, hey, things are happening. It's not a still frame. But anyway, you made it. You made it here with me to the end of the tutorial. And, drop a like down there. Share it with your friends if you liked it, if you thought it was useful. Let me know how I'm doing down there in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright, take care.
Hey guys, hope you liked that video. You can click here to subscribe, or here to watch more videos, or here to subscribe. And now I'll just stand here making awkward eye contact with you.